Good morning, students. My voice is audible. Can you please confirm? And can you see my screen?
Sir.
Okay, thank you. So let me wait for a few other participants, and then I'll start this. Okay, fine, students. So let me start this session. In today's class, let us discuss about this garbage collection. We are going to discuss about garbage collection. As you know that in Java, whenever you want to create an object of a class, we are going to use a keyword called new and followed by the corresponding class name. So let us assume that I've created an object of a class, that is new box. Okay. And let me show this box in a variable called myBox1. myBox1. And the type of this is nothing but it is box. So I've created one object. Now, next, I've created one more object, that is myBox2. Now, as we discussed in the previous class, okay, whenever we create an object of a class, something like this, the memory gets allocated inside the heap memory. So let us assume I've created object 1, and for this object 1, memory is allocated inside my heap memory, right? Inside my heap memory. And similarly, I've created one more object, that is second object, and for second object also, memory is allocated inside my heap, right? Now, now Now I finished using this object, that is this new box. I have finished using this object, and also I have finished using these two objects. Okay. So once I finish using this object, what I need to do? Okay, the memory allocated for this object. Okay, the memory allocated. Let me change the color. Yeah, the memory allocated for this object inside the heap memory. Okay, the memory allocated for this object inside the heap memory needs to be reclaimed. Okay, I repeat, the memory allocated for this object, that is my first object and second object, the memory allocated for this object needs to be reclaimed. Why I need to reclaim the memory that has been allocated for this object? Because since I'm not using these objects anymore, see, I finished using this object 1 and object 2. That is, I finished using this object 1 and object 2. So once I finish using this object 1 and object 2, what I should do? The memory allocated for this object has to be reclaimed. Why I need to reclaim? So that this memory, I can use it for other objects. Okay, I can use the same memory for other objects. So, now in Java, how a memory can be reclaimed? As you see that with respect to C++, we have used a keyword called delete. We have used a keyword called delete, delete CSTR. What is CSTR? CSTR is a pointer which is pointing to a dynamically allocated memory. Okay, that's what you are seeing. With respect to C++, we have used a keyword called delete. Okay, in order to reclaim the memory that has been allocated for your object. But whereas in Java, there is no concept of this delete keyword. There is no delete keyword. But in Java, there's a concept called this garbage collection. There's a concept called garbage collection. So once you finish with this object, so I finished using this object. So since I finished using this object, and this you can consider this as a garbage. You can consider this as a garbage. Why is a garbage? You can consider these two objects as a garbage. Why you can consider these two objects as a garbage? Because I have finished. It is of no use. right? Since I'm not using, it's of no use. So since it's of no use, what I should do? All this garbage, that is object one and object two, what I should do? I need to collect. I need to collect. We call this as a garbage collection. The garbage I need to collect. So the garbage which you are collecting, we call this as a garbage collection. And when this garbage collection takes place, this garbage collection occurs periodically. What is periodically? If at all, it is necessary when during the execution of your program. When you're trying to execute your program, at that time, this garbage collection will occur. When it occurs, it is periodically, means if at all it is necessary. So if we don't know when this garbage collection is going to be executed, okay, if at all it is necessary, then during the execution of program, this garbage collection is going to be executed. Have you understood this, students? In case you have not understood, I'll give an example, one more example. Have you understood? Any questions? Have you understood the students? Now, why you're not responding? Uh,
Understood, sir.
okay, that's good. One student is responding. That's is quite simple because it's quite simple. I think this concept I've discussed with respect to C++. I've discussed the same concept with respect to C++, right? Yeah, that's all it is. See, whenever we create an object of a class, the memory gets allocated inside your heap memory. The memory gets allocated inside your heap memory. The memory gets allocated inside your heap memory. So once I finished using these objects, I have finished using this object, that is object one and object two. I finished using. So once I finish using, what I need to do? The memory that has been allocated for this object, the memory that I have allocated for this object, what I need to do? I need to reclaim. In other words, I need to take it back. Why I need to take it back? So that that memory which I allocated for object one and object two, I can use it for some other objects. I can use it for some other objects. How I can reclaim the memory that I have allocated for object one and object two? See, programmatically, it is not possible in Java. Okay. Okay. In Java, there is a concept called garbage collection. In Java, there is a concept called garbage collection. What this garbage collection says that, okay, it occurs periodically. Garbage collection occurs periodically if at all it is necessary. So when it occurs during the execution of your program, so we don't have any control over this garbage collection. Okay, so whenever you are not using any objects, what this garbage collection does, it's going to reclaim the memory that has been allocated when it occurs during the execution of a program. So why they call this as a garbage collection? Since I've finished, see, you're finished, suppose you're writing something in a sheet of paper. So once you finish, you throw it out. Okay, this, we call that as a garbage. Here also, so since I finished using these two objects, I'm not using anymore. No, I'm not using these two objects anymore. Since I'm not using these two objects anymore, we call this as a garbage. We call this as a garbage. Okay, collecting the garbage, we call this as a garbage collection. So that's why they given the name as garbage collection. There's nothing else. It's quite simple. Okay, fine. Okay, so let me clear my drawings and let us go to a new topic in today's class. It's a garbage collection. Students, can you see my screen? Can you see my new screen?
Yes, sir.
Fine. In today's class, we shall discuss about inheritance. This is very, very important concept. Inheritance. This is very, 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 very important concept. Yeah. Inheritance. Now, definitely, you'll get a question on this inheritance. Okay. Okay. What is this inheritance all about? Okay. Let me give an example. Uh, now, uh, let us assume is your father. Is your father. Is your father. And let us assume this guy. He's a son. Father, son. Now, father is having two houses in Bangalore. Father is having 2 houses in Bangalore. Okay. Now, see, since he is a son, okay, this son is going to inherit the property of the father. Okay. In other words, the 2 houses which belongs to father, it also belongs to son also. Is it right, students? This is very important. You try to understand. A father is having 2 houses. Okay, so these 2 houses belongs to father. These 2 houses belongs to father. Since this guy is a son, this guy is a son. This son also is going to inherit the 2 houses because he's a son. Since he's a son, what's the son? A son is going to inherit the property of his father. Right now, this son is having one house. So the son is having one house. Okay. So this one house belongs to son. Okay. So what is the number of houses the son is having? I need an answer.
3, sir.
Very good. The son is having how many houses? The son is having 3 houses. Is having 3 houses. So two houses he has inherited from his father. 2 houses he has inherited from his father, and one house is belongs to his own, right? And father is having how many houses? Father is having only 2 houses. Father does not have 2 houses. Father is having only 2 houses. Is it right? Is it right, students? Now, 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 this son, after marrying, this son has become a father. This son has become a father. Let me write FS subscript. And he is having a son. 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 Let me see. He is having a son. Now the question is, how many houses this new son is having? SN. SN stands for new son. Now, how many houses this new son is having? I need answers.
3, sir.
Very good. Your answer is correct. This son, SN is having 3 houses. Is having 3 houses. Why is having 3 houses? You see that this guy father is having total how many houses? Just now we have calculated. We have 3 houses. This son, okay. This son, how many houses is having? 3 houses. How we got 3 houses? 2 houses he has inherited from his father, and one house he has constructed. Now, now this guy has become the son of this guy. That is FS have written, right? Now, this guy is going to inherit all the property what his father is having. His father is having a property called 3 houses. That is 2 houses belongs to his father and one house belongs to him. So totally he is having 3 houses. Now let us assume this guy also has constructed one house. This guy also constructed one house. Now what is the total property of this SN? The total property of this SN is nothing but it is 3 houses plus one house plus one house. So totally how many houses is having? Is having 4 houses. So we call this structure as inheritance. What is inheriting? The son is inheriting. The son is inheriting the property of the father. You see that? The son is inheriting the property of father. And here also you see that this son, SN, is inheriting the property of his father. This is the structure of inheritance. I think, day-to-day life, we are the inheritance of our father. Okay, our father is inheritance of his father, right? Like that inheritance goes on, and we can think this as grandfather. He's a grandfather. Okay, and we can let me change the color. Yeah, you can think this guy as grandfather. He's a grandfather. And you can think this guy as father. Okay, this as father. And you can think this guy as son. It's inheritance, right? You see that? You call this as inheritance structure. Okay. Father is inheriting the property from his father, and son is inheriting from his father. Okay. So what are the properties the father is what are the property this father is having? Means right now I'm talking with respect to this son. With respect to this son, he's going to become grandfather. The property the grandfather is having, and this guy F is trying to inherit. And what are the property the father is having, the son is going to inherit, right? And we call this as inheritance. We call this as inheritance. We call this as inheritance. And the same inheritance concept which you have seen here, the same inheritance concept which you have seen here, we are going to discuss with respect to Java. With respect to Java, we are going to see the same inheritance concept, right? I hope you understood this. Now, okay, fine. Now, let me write here. Let me write class A. Class A. Let me write int I, int j, void, void show ij. System dot out dot println println mm, mm, I I plus I plus mm, yeah, yeah. You have finished with my course, students, and let us try to focus. See, what is inheritance? Inheritance allows a class. Inheritance, what it does? Inheritance allows a class to inherit the instance variables and methods defined in another class. Okay, using inheritance, what a class can do, using inheritance, a class can inherit, what it can inherit it? It can inherit instance variables and methods that is defined in another class. The same thing, let me draw the structure here. Let us assume is a father, and he is the son, he is the son, he is the son. Now, father is having two houses. Father is having two houses. And son is having one house. Son is having one house. Now, as we know that the son is going to inherit the property of the father. The son is going to inherit the property of the father. So now what is the total property of the son? The total property of the son is two houses plus one house belongs to him. Okay, so it is totally three houses. Three houses is the property of the son, right? Now, now, now let us try to compare this. So I'm having a class called A. I'm having a class called A. I have a class called B. Okay. So what property? Just I try to. So father is having property called two houses, and son is having a property called one house. So since son is trying to inherit the property of his father, he'll be having two houses and one house. Now let us assume the class is having two instance variables. The class is having uh, two instance variables. It has two instance variable. It has one method. It has one method. That's one method. Class A. You see that my class A is having two instance variables. You can see that it has two instance variables, and that's what I said. It has two instance variable, and the class is having a one method. Right? A class is having one method. Okay. Let us assume that my class B is trying to inherit class A. Let us assume my class B is trying to inherit, or my class B wants to inherit class A. When class B is inheriting class A, now what my class B contains? My class B contains, my class B contains two instance variables. It contains it contains two instance variables. It contains two instance variables plus one method, one method. These two instance variables and methods belongs to a class called A. Okay, my class B, since my class B is trying to inherit a class called A, my class B will have two instance variables which belongs to class called A, and not only that, the class A also has one method. So my class B will also have this one method. Okay, the same thing. You see that my father is having two houses. Since the son is trying to inherit the property of father, he'll be having two houses which belongs to his father. Two houses belongs to his father and one house of his own. Okay, and now you see that here inside class B, I have an instance variable called K. So it is having its own instance variable. That is, it has one instance variable, instance variable, and it has one method. It has one method. And what is the name of the method? The name of the method is nothing but is right. So now, when class B is trying to inherit class A, what my class B will have is very, very important. What my class B will be having? My class B will have two instance variables which belongs to a class called A, and not only that, it also have one method which belongs to class called A. Apart from this, my class A, apart from this, my class B will also have its own instance variable and method. Okay. So totally my class B will have totally three instance variables. Totally it has, my class B will have totally three instance variable. What the name of this three instance variable? The name of this three instance variables on the might is I, J, K. Okay. And it has two methods. It has two methods. It has two methods. A class B. And what is the name of the method? The name of the method is nothing but the first one is show ij. Okay, the first method is show ij, and the second method is show k. The method is show k. It has two methods. Okay. Now, now this ij has been inherited from a class called A, and the show ij method has been inherited from the class called A. Right. So right now, uh, if my class B, if my class B inherits class called A, uh, so it will having, when my class B inherits class called A, totally it has three instance variables and it will be having two methods. All right, and that's what it is all about. Now, now, now the question is how a class B can inherit a class called A. Now the question is how a class B can inherit a class called A. So let me remove all my drawings. Let me remove all my drawings. Yeah. Yeah. Now, now you see that class B is a standalone class and class A is a standalone class. Now class B wants to inherit class A. In order to inherit a class called A, it needs to use a keyword called extends. That's very, very important. Extends is a keyword. We need to use a keyword called extend. S is very important. You should not miss S. You should not write extend. You should write extends. What I want to extend? I want to extend a class called A. In other words, my class B is trying to inherit a class called A. Now, since class B is trying to inherit a class called A, the members of class A, what are the members of class A? Uh, so let me change my marker. These are the members of the class called A. These are the members of a class called A. Now, since my class B is trying to inherit a class called A, all the members which is present in class A, the class B is going to inherit. The class B is going to inherit. Now, since my class B is going to inherit all the members of a class called A, my class B will be having totally 3 instance variable. Class B will having totally 3 instance variable. It has totally 3 instance variable, and it will be having 2 methods. It will be having 2 methods. Okay. The most important thing is how to inherit. And not to inherit, you need to use a keyword called extends. You need to use a keyword called extends followed by the name of the class which you want to inherit. Okay. Is it fine, students? And one more thing. You see that a class that is inherited, we call this as a super class. Now here we are trying to here class B is trying to inherit a class called A. Since class B is trying to inherit a class called A, we call this class A as super class. We call this class A as super class. Okay, the class that does inheriting. Who is inheriting? Is B. B is inheriting class called A. Since B is inheriting, we call this B class B as subclass. You should know the terminologies. Okay, the class that is inherited, we call this class as superclass. Okay, a class that is inheriting, we call this as a subclass. Right, these are the important terminologies, you should know it. Okay, and actually some people will call instead of the actually it has several names. It can be called as superclass, or it can be called as base class. Okay, because sometimes we call it a base class. Same thing. Sometimes people call as super class, and sometimes they call as a base class. Okay, and subclass, and the subclass also, and they can call. There's one more name for subclass. We call this as derived class. Okay, call this as a derived class. Derived class. There's several names are there. Okay. But generally, I'll try to use the superclass and subclass, or sometimes I'll call base class, or sometimes I call derived class. You need to understand. When I say derived class, it is subclass. When I say subclass, it is derived class. When I say superclass, it is a base class. When I say base class, it is a superclass. Yeah. Students, I have finished the discussion with respect to inheritance, the basic of inheritance. You have any questions, you can ask. Any questions, students? Any questions? Because I'm going to erase the complete diagram. Any questions with respect to inheritance? Any questions? You're not answering? Any response from you? Someone is typing. Sir, is there no nested class? Like it, you try to discuss, you try to focus on what I'm discussing. Okay, nested class and all we see later. Okay. Okay, is there no nested class? Okay, nested class we'll see later. Right now, my focus is towards inheritance. Okay, so we'll discuss on inheritance. So once I come to nested class, and probably then we can discuss about this nested class. Okay, right now, see with respect to inheritance. Okay, so my question is, there is public. Rahul is asking, sir, if we declare A as public and B as private, what happens when we inherit? Okay, that's a very good question, Rahul. But once I come to that topic, I'll discuss. Okay, that's a very good question. But right now, my focus is the basics, fundamentals of inheritance. So if you understood the fundamentals of inheritance, that's well and good. My question is, have you understood the fundamentals? What I've discussed right now, if you understood, that's well and good. Public, private, that we'll discuss later. Okay. Have you understood, students, what I've discussed? Okay. Any response?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Padmaja is responding. Good. Okay, fine. So let me clear all my drawings. Now I'll be doing some important thing. Uh, okay, instead of doing, let me keep this diagram helpful. Okay, using this diagram. Now I'll write a small code. In case you understood, you need to tell the answer what I'm trying to do it now. Okay, that's very, very important. Since you said you understood, so based on what I've discussed, you need to give the answer. Okay. Just I'll be typing the code, students, and just you can focus on this. Okay. Okay, why I'm typing, you should know how to type the code. Okay, and that's why actually I'll be typing the code. And the students have finished, and probably let me split the code into two frames so that you can see the complete code. Let me open one more new notepad. Put this entire class demo in a separate side by side so that you can see that, right? And it looks good. And put a single frame so that you can see side by side, right? Let me clear all my drawings. Let me clear all my drawings. Let me share both. Students, yes. Can you tell which one is valid statement and which one is invalid statement? Give a try.
Sir,
Yes.
third one and eighth statement are invalid.
Very good. And let me put line numbers. It'll be good. It's good. This is line number 1, line number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, students. Now you can tell the line numbers. That's fine. Someone is typing in chat box. Let me see that. So I can see. Okay. So Likit has typed an answer. Rahul also typed an answer. And I can see the answer from Rahul. Okay, I don't want to read it out. Let other students give a try. Yeah, fine. Oh, I think you can see my screen, right? Okay, fine. Okay. I'm sharing my entire screen. Yeah, some students are typing. Vaishni also typed the answer. Okay, that's good. What about others? Okay, fine, students. So I think time is running out, and let me finish it off. Now, here what I've done in first case, I've created an object of a class called A. I've created an object of a class called A. So what I should do? To try to create an object. Try to create an object. Okay. And what an object contains? An object contains instance variable. So now I've created an object of a class called A. So therefore, go to class called A. In class called A, how many instance variable I have? I have these two instance variables, that is I and j. So inside my object, I have two instance variables. One is I and one more is j. Okay. And I've given a name for this object is super OB. So it is nothing but it is super OB. Super OB. Super OB stands for super class object. Okay. I've taken why super OB means it's a super class, right? A is a super class. Is it right, students? A is a super class. Okay. A is a super class. Is a super class. And what is B? B is nothing but your subclass. B is nothing but your subclass. Why B is subclass? Because B is inheriting a class called A. Okay, and class A is inherited. So that's why we call A a superclass and we call B as a subclass. Okay, so I've done with first one. And next you see that I have created an object of a class called B. I have created an object of a class called B. So now let me create an object of a class called B. Okay. And what is the name I've given? The name I've given for this sub OP. I've given as sub OP. Name I've given sub OP. Now what this contains, what this object contains, this object also will contains instance variable. How many instance variable it has? How many instance variable class B is having? That's very, very important, right? My class B is having an instance variable called K. It has any other instance variable apart from K? Apart from K, it has any other instance variable? Yes, you see that?
Yes, sir. I
My
and J.
Yeah, very good. What I said, class B is trying to inheriting the class called A. When I say inheriting, it's going to inherit all the members of a class called A. What members my class A is having? It has two instance variables. So therefore, these two instance variables will be inherited by the class called B, and therefore my class B will be my object B. Object of a class called B will be having totally three instance variables. One is I, one more is J, and one is K itself. This K belongs to the class called B, and this I and J has been inherited from my superclass. It has been inherited from my superclass. Is it right, students? Now, let us try to do it. Now here what I'm doing, super ob dot I. So how to access this instance variable? I think you know I've discussed super ob dot I. Okay, like this you should access using this dot operator. So I've set 10. That's correct. Super ob dot I 10. Next, what I've done, students? Super ob dot j. Okay, super ob dot j. Okay, I've done 20.